In this video, I just want to show you a few miniatures I've pulled out of storage, really, in order to play role-playing games. I think I'm right in saying that all of these miniatures are from the 70s and 80s. All metal, obviously. Actually, no one of these models is plastic. And I've got them out of storage and varnished them and based them all the same, so that I can play some games of Old School Essentials, which is basically, it's basic D&D. It's Dungeons and Dragons as it was in about 1980, 1981. Just rewritten slightly for the sake of clarity. And yeah, so I thought I'd better get some models together that people can use to represent their player characters. And in Old School Essentials or basic D&D, you can be one of 7 different things. You could be an elf, you can be a fighter, you can be a magic user, you can be a dwarf, you can be a halfling, or a thief, or a cleric. I think that's all of them. And first of all, we've got this, who is, I mean, he's clearly a fighter, isn't he? I think this is just a historical medieval figure. I'm pretty sure it's a minifigs figure. Not sure from when exactly. Yeah, 70s or 80s, one of the two. And very simply painted. I've painted all of these with just simple, block acrylic color, and then gloss Army Painter Quick Shade, the dip stuff, right? Which simultaneously shades the miniature and seals it, protects it. Lots of people use Army Painter Quick Shade and then they will hit the model with a matte coat of varnish, which makes perfect sense, but I like the shininess. I think it sort of has a visual appeal that I like. Seems appropriate to older metal figures as well. And it also makes them a little bit more resistant to dirt and fingerprints and things like that for models that are going to be handled quite a lot, which I'm hoping these will be. Next one, well, that's clearly a cleric. There he is with his monk's habit, a shield, and of course a blunt weapon. You can't carry an edged weapon if you're a cleric. I'm not sure where he's from, actually. Not sure who made him. Let's have a look. He may also be a minifigures figure, actually. There's something about that stance and the way that his face is carved. Could be a lambing, actually. Might be a lambing miniature. Couldn't say for sure. Next to him, so I'm using this as a halfling, but I believe that this model was originally sold as a dwarf. One of the first ranges, I believe, of actual fantasy gaming miniatures was the, I think it was initially it was the Middle Earth series from Minifigs, and then I think it was renamed the Mythical Earth range, and I believe this was a dwarf. But he's so tiny by modern standards, I think he works perfectly for a halfling. I think any smaller than this, and it would just get difficult to handle. But there he is with his shield, with a blazon of a carrot on the front. And then towering above him is a dwarf. Now, who made this dwarf? I've a feeling this might be a Hinchcliffe. Or Hinchcliffe? Is it Hinchcliffe or Hinchcliffe? I'm never quite sure. Got a bit of fuzz attached to his helmet there. 1 second. Yep. I think this is a Hinchcliffe. Figure. And yep, he's a dwarf, and yet he is appropriately a little bit taller than the halfling next to him. But the scale is being thrown off a little bit by this giant of a fellow next to him. He's a sort of barbarian type fighter. Big on muscle, low on armour. And he is the lone plastic figure in this particular selection. I'm not sure where he's come from. I've got about 4 examples of him. Presumably come from some board game from the distant past. I think I doubt he's any later than the 80s. There's something about the style of the sculpt and the quality of the plastic that says 80s to me. I think if he were from the 90s, he would be a little bit more, maybe stylized, I'm not sure, but there's something about this that says maybe early to mid 80s. Not sure though, don't know. Next to him, we've got a very fine wizard. Where's this wizard from? Could it be a Pendragon figure? Not sure, perhaps he's Hinchliffe. Anyway, I like him very much. He sort of reminds me of my dad, actually. And I've based all these up with grass bases, just with flock, you know, the old-fashioned flock that's really just dyed sawdust, I think it is really. And it's always a bit of a dilemma when you're painting miniatures for role-playing games, how you're going to base them. Lots of people I noticed base them with plain black bases. I don't really like that. I don't like the look of it. And then you've got to decide, okay, well, if I'm going to give it a sort of scenic type base, do I go flagstones for town and dungeon, or do I go grass for wilderness? Well, I've gone grass for wilderness, which will look wrong when they're in the dungeon, but that's okay. I like the contrast of texture and colour it gives you with the paintwork, and it also means that I can use these figures in war games, in games of Warhammer and the like as well. Makes them a little bit more, a bit more useful for different things. Who's next to the wizard? Well, I think this may be our only thief for the moment. I've got another thief that is on my painting table, which should be done soon. Where's this figure from? I honestly couldn't tell you. No idea. She's rather slender. Very simply painted, as you can see. It's a rather nice, simple but graceful figure. Next to her we've got another halfling. Again, made from a Mythical Earth dwarf. And this one is painted as a little wee Scotsman with a kilt. There we go. I did take the trouble to paint the tartan there. Not particularly well, but there we have it. Rather large model here. Not a player character, but probably some sort of big bad boss character. Now, who made this? I don't know who made this. This is clearly a Nazgul. It's not, I don't think, the Mythical Earth one. I've got some of those and they're a little bit different. But yeah, I like him very much. I like the hood coming down extremely far over his face, and I like his pterodactyl style winged mount. Rather lovely. And here we have another fighter. I've got no shortage of fighters. I probably ought to get more clerics and thieves. This, I'm inclined to think, is a Ralpartha. This may be one of the later models in the range, actually, in this particular collection I've got. Is it from the 90s, maybe? It is possible. Not sure. Not sure. But the shield there, the daisy shield, is an upholstery tack. So upholstery tacks, they're basically like heavy-duty drawing pins almost that you use to tack on leather when you're upholstering a seat. And so they're decorative, and you can get different sort of standard patterns, and this is one of them. You can get a whole bag of these for a couple of quid, and I think they make rather nice decorative shields. Next to him, of course, a magic user. Could this be a Ralpartha? I think it might be a Ralpartha. Might even be Ralpartha himself. I know that Ralpartha, I think, was named after somebody's wizard character, and they've produced quite a few editions of Ralpartha the Wizard. I think this may be one of him, and I like the fact that he's got a skull and a spell book on the ground next to him. This is one of the models really that possibly should have been painted as though he's inside a wizard's tower with a flagstone floor. But for the sake of what's the consistency, I've gone for a grass base. I can always reverse it if I particularly want to. Next to him, this I'm pretty sure is a lambing figure. And I could use him as a fighter with a polearm. I think it's more likely that he'll probably do duty as a town guard or some sort of yeoman. I don't know. I don't know. I need them to be arrested and brought to the mayor. This chap will probably turn up, or whenever they've got to talk their way into a castle, maybe he'll be on the gate. I probably ought to get at least one other. I think I've got a couple of others that are the same miniature, so it makes sense to have a pair at least, wouldn't it? Who's this? Another magic user. Now, I'm pretty sure this is a lambing figure as well. I think you can still buy these lambing figures from lambing. And I think there's a really nice apprentice wizard you can get also, which is carrying a load of spell books. Next to him, well, it's another fighter. I told you I had a lot of fighters. Who made him? Could this be a citadel? I'm not sure. I really don't know. Rather nice shield, though. And a nice helmet. And then a female fighter. Now, I'm pretty sure she is a Ralpartha. That looks like a Tom Mayer? A Tom Mayer face. Tom Mayer, I think, was streets ahead of the competition when he was sculpting in the late 70s and early 80s. Very delicate touch. Lots of very fine detail. Excellent proportions. And very good at female faces, which not many other companies have been good at historically. Certainly better than most of Citadel's efforts. And I think Tom Mayer, or Meyer, was the person who showed Citadel sculptors how to use green stuff like Niedertite rather than Milliput, which I think they've been using before. And then we've got someone on a horse. This will probably be a non-player character as well, I should think. Rather fine mounted knight. And then last of all is an elf. Now, who made this elf? I've no idea. I'm not sure. He was carrying a banner, but I've removed the banner and added a shield, which I've painted with a little tree. He's a wood elf. Excuse my spray paint on my thumb. I've usually got some paint on my fingers. Yeah, there we go. So this gives me quite a few options for my player characters and a few baddies. I've got some monsters to paint as well, and some of the little bits and pieces. Really enjoying basic D&D at the moment, or old school essentials. Thanks for watching.